problem being, I guess they're on final reading here at this point in time. So there's no reason for a hearing again tonight, is there?
Right. No, there's no reason for a hearing.
Yeah, I think you can take
The YouTube is starting the stream.
Okay. You have no problem with me taking those
No.
as a group?
I
As
just
long as
ask
they're all
for
read.
objection, and if there is none, take
Yeah.
them.
Yep, sounds
A
good.
through G. Okay, that'll help.
Might want to give Nicole just a minute to get a sip of water in between.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a lot of them.
Yes. Okay.
All right. We got about 1 minute. Vice Chair, are you ready to pull up a flag?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let me get started. Nicole, if you want to go ahead and make us live, or Vice Chair, who's making us live?
I'm running it.
Okay, all right, make it, go ahead and,
We're live.
all right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, July the 21st City Council agenda. I now call this meeting to order. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, should he desire, by Councilman Mitchell. Councilman?
Here's
are
our
you-
flag.
All right.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
To
to
the
the
flag
flag
of the United
of the
States
United
United
States
States
of
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair, the agenda is yours.
Thank you, sir. We have no special presentations tonight, so at this time, could I get approval of the minutes?
Second,
We have a motion to approve with a proper second. Any questions or concerns? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Burrs,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
That's 9 yeses.
so moved. All right, now we move into the order of business for your city council, starting with ordinances on final reading. Madam Clerk, if you would, we're going to group A all the way through G, since these are planning items on their final read. If you would read, please, A through G, if there are no objections from the council.
None.
And I see no objections.
Item A, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 813A Signal Mountain Road from R2 residential zone to C2 convenience commercial zone. Item B, and an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 5235 and 5243 Old Hickson Pike and 5117 Park and 5120 Gooden Lane from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone, subject to certain conditions. Item C, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 1933 and 1939 Central Avenue and 1936 Myrtle Street from M1 manufacturing zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions. Item D, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1701 Dodson Avenue from M3 warehouse and wholesale zone to C5 neighborhood commercial zone. Item E, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 2202 Bennett Avenue from R2 residential zone to RTZ residential townhouse 0 lot line, subject to certain conditions. Item F, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 1001 and 1003 South Beach Street from RTZ residential townhouse 0 lot line zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions. Item G, an ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 2501 and 2505 East 12th Street and 1024 Peachtree Street from R2 residential zone to RT1 residential townhouse zone.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Any questions or comments before we vote? If not, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
That's 9 yeses.
motion carries. Item 5H, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 16, Sections 1659 through 1666 regarding the Police Advisory and Review Committee.
Councilman, I'm not sure if Councilwoman Burrs, who had their light first?
I
Gilbert.
defer Councilman Gilbert first.
Councilman Gilbert, then Councilwoman Burrs.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yeses.
motion carries 9-0. Now we'll move into items on first reading. Let's take item 6A, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 7301 Shallowford Road from R1 residential zone to C4 Planned Commerce Center zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Still working on some conditional details. I'd like to defer this until August 18th.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion on the floor to defer until August 18th with a proper second. Questions or comments? If not, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
It's 9 yeses.
motion carries to defer to August the 8th.
Thank you, council.
Now we'll move to item 6B, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 26, Article 4, Section 2691, fee schedule, municipal golf courses, and Chapter 26, Article 1, Section 2617 of the acts prohibited.
What is the pleasure of the council?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments at this time? I see no hands. Madam Clerk, roll call.
I have one.
Oh.
I have one, please, sir.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Yeah. I think that my colleagues said a lot of interesting things today about the golf courses, and I think they need to be looked at more and in different ways. I think this is a good stopgap till we have the opportunity to do that. And that's why I'm moving the approval. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions or comments? All right, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Councilperson Burrs, you having said that, got my vote, yes.
Knew that would get you.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
It's 9 yeses.
All right, so moved. Now we move into resolutions. Madam Clerk, if you would read, please, items A all the way down through D. Items A through D, we'll take those as a group.
Yes. Item A, a resolution to confirm the reappointment of Bill Lockhart to the Sports Authority Board representing District 7 with the term ending July 31, 2025. Item B, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment number 1 to nonprofit lease standard form agreement in substantially the form attached with Forgotten Child Fund, Inc. to amend the renewal options to one additional term of 6 months. Item C, a resolution authorizing the interim treasurer to execute a contract with eGovernment Solutions for the implementation and maintenance of a citywide municipal property tax billing and collection software system for 3 years beginning July 1, 2020, plus 2 one-year extensions for an annual amount not to exceed $64,000. Item D, a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Multicultural Affairs to release the third payment of the approved contract funds to CoLab for Kiva for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $43,000.
All right. Councilman Gilbert.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson,
Yes.
9 yeses.
Items A, B, C, and D are approved. Thank you, council. Now we move into item 7E and F. If you would, both of these are under Public Works. Madam Clerk, read both of these. We'll take them as a group, please.
All right. Item E, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to apply for and, if awarded, accept the tourism enhancement grant for the enhancement of existing tourism needs at the Aquarium Plaza for an amount up to $75,000. Item F, a resolution authorizing year 1 of a 5-year term for the on-call blanket contracts for on-call design and plan production services, contract number S2004100 with the following firms: 1, WK Dixon, 2, Volkert, 3, Barge Design, 4, S and ME, 5, RK&K, 6, Geosyntex, 7, CTI, 8, Croy, 9, Crazen, 10, Brown and Caldwell, and 11, Arcadis, that each consultant qualified for the renewal of the 5 one-year blanket contracts for professional services, estimated at $250,000 total annually for all 11 professional firms for use by all departments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions, concerns, or comments? If not, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson,
Yes.
9 yeses.
Items E and F are approved. Okay, at this time, we'll move into purchases. Vice Chair Smith, if you would bring in Vicky Haley this evening, please, as the council pulls up their purchases. Good afternoon, Ms. Haley. If you'd unmute your mic.
I think I have it now.
You do. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you are welcome. We have 6 purchases tonight for your consideration. The first one is Citywide Services, a division of Public Works. This is for personal protective safety equipment. The recommendation is to go to 3 different vendors for a combination of $40,000. That's Roll-Aid Industrial Supply. I said 3, only 2 vendors, sorry. Roll-Aid Industrial Supply and Environmental and Hygiene Safety, Inc. We have another with Citywide Services. This is high visibility work clothing. The award is for $46,000 to Reflective Apparel Factory and Safety Products, Inc. Also Citywide Services, portable toilet rentals for $42,000 to go to American Router and Portables LLC, Porta Toilet LLC, doing business as Pit Stop Portables. Also, citywide services, grounds maintenance for Enterprise South Industrial Park. This is a renewal with a price increase to R&A property maintenance. For waste resources, also a division of Public Works, we have liquid sodium bisulfite. This is to pay for expenditures until we have the new contract in place. It's an increase of $250,000 for an estimated annual spend of $980,500. And last, we have human resources. This is flexible spending account administration to go to Interflex Payments LLC. It's a combination of $15,000 annually for administration and $500,000 for employee funded claims. That's it.
All right, thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Any questions or comments? If not, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilman Oglesby,
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell,
Yes.
Councilman Ledford,
Yes.
Councilman Gilbert,
Yes.
Councilwoman Coonrod,
Yes.
Councilman Byrd,
Yes.
Councilwoman Byrd,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yeses.
so moved. Thank you, council. We now move to other business. Does any council person have any other business that they would like to bring before the council at this time? Councilman Oglesby.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is with great excitement that I want to announce tonight that the Department of Economic and Community Development Workforce Development Office has received a $24,000 donation from Norfolk Southern Railroad. The funds will be used for workforce development in conjunction with UTC. The workforce funds will be done in conjunction with UTC's Manufacturing and Excellence Program, for which we will hear more about at our Economic and Community Development Department meeting next Tuesday. That's all I have right now, Mr. Chair, Council.
I think that would be an excellent departmental report for us to have next Tuesday during our 3:30 agenda session.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of things I'd like to share with the public in regards to our Chattanooga Veterans Appreciation Day. It was rescheduled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A brief history: on July 20th, 2019, Mayors Andy Burke and Jim Coppinger recognized the Chattanooga Veterans Appreciation Day. This day was established as a special day in Chattanooga to recognize our veterans alongside the city and county and District 28 State Representative Yusuf Hakeem. Chattanooga Opportunity Center organized a second event that was scheduled on July 18th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and growing health concerns for the Chattanooga community, especially our vulnerable populations and aging veterans, the event has been rescheduled to November 7th, 2020. All health and safety precautions that have been implemented by the city and the county, our recommendations will be followed according to CDC, will be enforced. Mask and sanitation devices will be provided for veterans and attendees. For more information and updates regarding this event, please visit ChattanoogaOpportunityCenter.org. I'm also pleased to read a press release, a new effort, Honor Air Chattanooga. In celebration of Chattanooga Veterans Appreciation Day, July 20th, 2020, a new project is being organized in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Honor Air Chattanooga is one more way for this community to honor and celebrate our veterans in the greater Chattanooga area. Honor Air Chattanooga will host a complimentary biannual flight for World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam War veterans to Washington, D.C. to visit their respective memorials in honor of their sacrifice. Unfortunately, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and concern for our veterans, our inaugural flight scheduled for October 3rd of this year was canceled. The summer fall of 2020, The Greater Chattanooga area veterans will embark on a one-day trip to Washington, D.C. to visit their respective memorials. Honor Air Chattanooga was established to allow veterans to be honored in a way deserving of a hero. Each veteran will be accompanied by a personal escort as well as a national security escort. The trip will give them an opportunity to honor those who fought alongside them and unfortunately made the ultimate sacrifice. Honor Air Chattanooga is now accepting applications. For more information on Honor Air Chattanooga, please visit www.honorairchattanooga.org. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman, for that report. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. I got a couple of things, but I'll make it brief. I just want to let constituents know that Congress is positioned to provide direct budget aid to cities. And the Senate Finance Committee, they released their framework and it did not include funding to go to states and local government. So I'm just asking our constituents to give Chuck Flashman a call, Congressman Flashman. His Chattanooga office number is 423-756-2342, and his DC number is 202-225-3271. It's very important that our local municipalities are receiving federal funds because we're in need of it, right? We have people who we just spoke about, Anthony Bird just spoke about, that are in need. They're needing, he feels as if they need food, and I feel as if they need to be positioned and to move out of poverty. But this is the great opportunity for us to come together and campaign to get funding for our cities. And also, I just want to transition here and talk about 2 weeks ago, James Hyman, he came on in public comment time and he said that relating to a resolution that I passed, is that we passed as a council. And he said, he really didn't feel like the resolution would add much value to the Black community, and that what he sees is that Black people are killing each other. And that's a true statement. Like, we are killing each other. I do realize, and I see white people, they kill each other for various reasons, mostly domestic violence type issues. But Black people, the culture that we have been raised in, it's come to a point to where we feel as if it's acceptable. I can't say this enough. It is not acceptable in 2020 for Blacks to continue to kill Black people. It's not. Just on yesterday, last night, across the street from the Avondale Center, for 51 seconds, we watched a Black man brandish a gun in the parking lot. Anybody could have got harmed, and forced a man to take his clothes off and rob him. 51 seconds. The look in that man's eyes reminded me of the Officer Derek Shaven, the look in his eyes, this Black man had the same exact look that the officer had for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. During this time, the 51 seconds that this young man was engaged with the other Black guy, people chanted and boosted this guy on as they laughed at the guy who was being stripped naked. But we found it acceptable that the other guy was brandishing a gun and could have harmed anybody. It's not acceptable. It's time for us as Black people to be held accountable for this foolishness, because that's what it is. Every Tuesday, my colleagues and I, we go back and forth and try to figure out what's gonna be helpful to get people out of poverty. We can't make you get out of poverty if you don't want it. We can't change your mind from a impoverished mindset to a wealth mindset if you don't want to. We got all these services out here that the government come up with every time we go to them saying, hey, I just know it's something that you can do to help this target group of people, Black people, that's suffering, dealing with all kind of issues. But folks, we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. Every Tuesday, we got protesters logging on saying, this is what's best for the Black community. Let's divest, let's defund, whatever word you choose to use from our police department and put it into these Black communities. But guess what, folks? I've heard not one voice from somebody Black saying this is what they want to happen. And this is what they would like the funds to be put into for the sake of the Black community. I want to hear, this is the challenge. On next Tuesday, or hopefully this Tuesday, I would like to hear from Black people. What do you feel like that's going to help your community rise above the poverty state that it's in? That's it. That's the challenge. Email me if you don't feel comfortable with voicing it. But right now, I'm really feeling some kind of way, because since the protests have happened on a national level against what happened to George Floyd, we've had Black men getting killed every week, shot or killed. This is every week. It's unacceptable at this point. I mean, I feel like crying right now. Our police department have been attacked for months now over things and not even wanting to talk about the issues, the root issues that's happening in the Black community. Gun violence, we can tackle all that on a federal level. We know laws and everything need to be changed for our communities to be safer. We want to eliminate the availability of guns, expanding research and putting funding into mental health, all of that stuff. But if people don't come take advantage of these services, it's just gonna fall to the wayside. I know I don't went on, Chair, but I've had enough. That 51-second video just unnerved me. When we got this stuff going on a local level and people don't want to talk about it, it's time to talk about it. I'm done hearing about what people think need to happen for the Black community when the Black community ain't even coming to us to even voice what they need or even making an effort to try to improve our communities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I appreciate those words. Councilman Gilbert.
Yes, Chair. I'd like to appoint Mr. Alan Holman to the Office of Multicultural Affairs.
What was that last name, sir?
Holman.
Holman, can you spell that?
It's H-A-L-M-A-N.
Okay. Madam Clerk, did you get that?
Yes, I have it.
Okay. Mr. Attorney, is that anything that needs a council vote? That's just Councilman Gilbert appointing this individual to the board.
Tim appointing someone from his district. No, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, Councilman Gilbert.
Sure, sir.
All right. Any other business that needs to come before the council at this time?
One more thing.
Okay.
At Brainerd Center, we have a beautiful mural that's been put up, and it's really, really nice. It complements the community. If you get a chance, go back and look at it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to committee reports. Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next week, we will have a legislative committee meeting during our agenda session, and it will be to cover the 8 Can't Wait resolution. No
Okay.
further report.
Thank you. Councilman Gilbert.
No report.
Councilman Oglesby, if you would unmute your mic, and
I have none.
thank you, sir. Councilwoman Burrs.
Yes, sir. Budget and Finance Committee met earlier today at the strategic planning meeting, and council voted to go no further with any budget amendments at this time.
Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting today. And we will have another one in 2 weeks. And Mr. Bailey from Transportation will be giving a presentation on city treatment of alleys.
Very well. Councilman Byrd.
No report, sir.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
No reports.
Councilman Ledford.
No report, Chairman.
Thank you. All right. At this time, we come to the point in our agenda that we recognize persons wishing to address the council. It's my understanding that we do have several this afternoon. So, Mr. Attorney, would you read the rules for engaging the council at this time?
Yes, sir. Since June the 29th, the governor of this state has allowed there to be virtual public meetings on Zoom. That's the reason we conduct these meetings at this time. Each member is participating electronically here, that is allowed by the governor's order, and the council meeting is to be audible to the public at the time of this meeting. There's no regarding visibility at each time, so I just thought that was a question that had been asked before in these meetings. All votes at the meeting have been taken by roll call, that is required by the governor's order. And for the public comment section, the rules of procedure.
Mr. Attorney, I think hold on. I think you need to start over. You froze up on us.
Oh, sorry. At the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public that wish to address the council, and here's the rules. Each speaker wishing to address the council will be recognized only after the speaker has provided their name, address, or council district of residence. No person shall have no more than 3 minutes to speak, and the speaker can address the council only upon matters that they have some authority over, their legislative or quasi-judicial authority, and the speaker cannot address the council on matters which are not under the authority of the council or regulated by other governmental bodies. And the speaker shall not be permitted to use vulgar, obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and address your comments to the council as a whole. Having said that, then the members that wish to speak at this time may do so.
All right. If you have registered to speak prior to this meeting and would like to address the council at this time, would you please raise your hand so that we could recognize you? Vice Chair Smith, could you confirm that the first 2 attendees have indeed registered?
Yes, sir. Both of them have.
What about, okay, we're up to 4 now.
Yep.
All 4?
All 4.
All right.
All right.
Mr. or Vice Chair, if you would bring in Casey Crook, please.
Will do, sir.
Hello,
He's
can
in.
you hear me?
All right. Hold on 1 second, Mr. Crook.
Okay, I'm a
Vice-
little under the weather, so I might.
Vice Chair, you want to go ahead and give us a clock, please?
I'm working on it.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
All
Mr.
right.
Crook.
My name is Casey Crook. I live in District 3. I was calling in initially to support the amendments that were before the council earlier today, but they were voted down with what I thought was a minimal discussion on their individual merits. And I wanted to speak more to a lot of the rhetoric that we were seeing. I think I'm seeing, okay. I was seeing your Gmail.
Yeah, we're just pulling the list back up. Sorry about that.
Okay. I wanted to speak briefly about, I think it was Mara Sullivan came in and said that over the budget process which started in September 2019, and then started to receive public feedback around December of that year. You heard from around 250 constituents in various forms. And I want to compare that to several comments about a lack of public opinion or a lack of public input and things like that. And I want to compare that to, I guess it's more of a question, like, what does public input look like to you? Like if a group gets together and works and goes through line items and finds individual items, is that not public input? If night after night we have thousands of people out in the streets for almost 50 consecutive nights, then like, is that not public input? If people are in the streets shouting, that's more than 250 people that had the direct input. And not to mention, as I'm sure all of you are aware, the June 9th meeting that went until well past 1 a.m. had over 225 registered speakers. So if you compare that to the 250 people that spoke through normal channels under non-urgent circumstances, I think you'll find that there has been an overwhelming outcry of public opinion on where the council should move forward and how best to proceed. I just I'm at a loss because I really don't know what further we can do Obviously, we can get involved in September when presumably the next budgetary meeting will occur, in addition to the upcoming elections. But I think for people that are suffering now, I think we need to move much more quickly. At the earliest, these amendments would have passed final vote 2 weeks from today. And there are people still missing rent payments. There are people still missing meals. There are still people without jobs.
All
What
right,
do you-
Mr. Crook, your time is up. We appreciate your comments. Would you bring in Ben Campbell, please?
Yes, Ben Campbell, District 2. I'm going to start by expressing my deep disappointment in the council for passing the budget without implementing the amendments presented to you over the past weeks by the DSA Chattanooga. Obviously, you have no interest in why people have been putting their lives on the line during a pandemic to protest the inequality in our country and more locally our city. Those of you who voted to pass the budget should be ashamed to the deepest level because your vote is one in favor of white supremacy and oppression. The other reason I'm speaking tonight is in regards to the City Council and Mayor's proposal for a police advisory review committee. Firstly, by saying that when we demand oversight on the CPD, we want it to come from actual community, not to be just another extension from the police. We demand that the oversight be civilian run, meaning the community chooses who is on the board, that each officer's misconduct is investigated by means of evidence and subpoenas. Along with the committee commitment to defending human rights, the board must receive the proper justice and human rights training. This is the only way to absolutely hold the abuse of power in the hands of the police fully accountable. We are not looking for a committee to suggest changes and make recommendations. We want justice and nothing less. We demand the salary, resources, training, and staff for the independent COB, Community Oversight Board, be funded by redirecting funds allocated to the police department. It is only viable to pay these individuals for actually keeping an eye out for their neighbors. And in regards to Councilwoman Coonrod's remarks earlier regarding that she hasn't heard any Black voices on this on these council meetings, that's not correct. I've been in these the last 6 times, and there has been every time except for maybe the last 2 weeks, and that's because the numbers have significantly dropped. And also, if you want to hear more Black voices, maybe you should be the one who's picking the voices, because whoever is picking them might not be picking Black sounding names because they want to avoid hearing the Black voice, which wouldn't be a surprise. And also, Black people aren't uniquely predisposed to commit crimes against each other. Crime is just generally racially segregated based on a number of factors, including that most people commit crimes against people they know or they live near. Another factor that contributes to crime is poverty. Poverty is found that Black and white households that live in poverty were much more likely to be victims of crime, were victims were victims of crimes at similar rates. Black people are more likely to live in poverty, and that's just a known fact based on the oppression and the white supremacy in this country. So, Councilwoman Coonrod, you need to address that before you address the fact that there is Black on Black crime. Violence within the Black communities and the over-policing of Black people are linked. But if an honest conversation is going to be had about either topic, especially in light of the latest officer-involved murders and shootings, it needs to be based on the fact that Black on Black crime is not simply Black people's making. I yield my time. All Black lives matter.
Mr. Vice Chair, Mary Twitty, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, go ahead.
Hi, Council. This is the first time I've been speaking with you all in the last few weeks.
Would you give us your district number, please?
I am in your district.
Okay. Is that District 1?
Yes,
Thank you.
I believe it is. I've been listening and watching significant conversation from all sides. I've been a civic artist in town, working with a number of nonprofits, working with a number of grassroots organizations, and I'm familiar with working with purchasing in the city, and I'm familiar with the avenues of resources that are well established here. I've been thinking significantly of one of your comments, Chairman, in the beginning where you quoted scripture talking about racism being removed from man's heart only if God sees fit. And I'm significantly uncomfortable with that statement. And I also would like to propose the perspective that this is God removing racism from hearts. And I know that the decisions around any kind of amendments have already been made. I know that the next opportunity for discussion to affect what's happening in our city comes around in September and then elections. This feeling of my hands being tied for what I can do to affect the policy and how we navigate care for our community. The hands being tied is not a feeling I'm unfamiliar with working in community engagement here and community development. And the cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance for what is contributing to the lack of support in really blatant ways has been called out internationally. It has been called out nationally. This is not a new problem. We are aware of this. We have been aware of this. And it's a case where the people who are in a position of authority, who have the ability to change things and face things, continue to move the goalposts, continue endlessly to move the goalposts. I really hope that in this time where you get to be quiet with yourself, you can think about that moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Twitty, and your time has expired. Winston Hearn. Mr. Vice Chair.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Winston Hearn. I'm in District 1. I am speaking tonight out of a deep embarrassment about the way that Chattanooga is navigating these times that are happening in 2020. I think others who have spoken have said it so well already, so I'm just going to echo what's being said, which is we got on the streets for multiple nights. We made demands. We described the world that we want, the Chattanooga that we want to live in, and the message we got back from you on the City Council is that's too vague. Give us actual ideas of what it is you want us to do. And so I and others combed through the budget. We read through every single document that you've read. We read about how you're adjusting the budget for coronavirus crisis. We read about all the initiatives that the city hopes to undertake to improve the well-being of its people. And we found problems that we identified, and we made actual demands. We said, the city has suggested we put this money here. And we asked if we could move that money and invest in our communities in different ways, in ways that didn't criminalize people, in ways that didn't perpetuate the violence of the system, in ways that we gave people opportunities to change their circumstances. We gave actual monetary line item suggestions. And today, rather than the City Council taking up our proposals and examining each one on its merit, we were told, no, we won't do that. We don't want to listen to you. And I'm just going to echo everything that's been said here. It's very frustrating to see those who have the power to change things, to see you who have run for office, won office, and have the actual ability to vote yes or no and move the money around in our community to give people different opportunities to structure our city into better ways or better systems. You keep telling us, well, you didn't do it right. And I get the feeling, and I'm very embarrassed when I talk to my friends who live around the country. I'm very embarrassed because I get the feeling that we're never going to do it right. We're arguing for a world that we want to live in, a world where Black people are not vilified by the system, where white supremacy does not continue to manifest the structures that this country has been built on. And we're trying to do that in pragmatic ways and work with you all. And instead what you do is you say, nope, not enough. And that is endlessly frustrating. And I personally will do everything I can to vote better people into office who actually listen to the people. I yield my time.
All right, Vice Chair, let's bring in Jeffrey Meldal. Or, yeah.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jeff Meldal. I live in District 7. I want to add my voice to the voices of frustration that the Council has indefinitely tabled the very modest amendments to the city budget that would have constituted at least the beginning of a response to the widespread demands of Chattanoogaans that the city divest from the police and invest in positive provisions for the community. As it stands, the Council has elected to take no substantive action in response to the broadly shared demands, and we're going to go ahead and spend $13 million over the next few years on a new police training center, while our citizens face homelessness, eviction, lack of educational resources, lack of transportation, while we won't even pay our city workers $15 an hour minimum. I understand there's a kind of logic to this. New cops have to be trained, as they have been since the Institute of Police was created in this country, to protect capital interests and property from increasingly desperate and miserable population who are merely trying to live a dignified life by whatever means they can. I think a lot of the terrible manifestations that were discussed earlier in the council meeting, like these things that are heartbreaking to see, these things that make us question the people among whom we live and question our own position in society and our safety and our security. These are like morbid symptoms of these problems that we continue to address only by throwing money at punishment and the carceral state apparatus. I agree that we need a greater diversity of voices weighing in on these matters. And it's always hard to see that, you know, the sort of lack of diversity of folks showing up to meetings to weigh in on these issues. But the experience of people who have taken the time to weigh in mirrors the response I hear a lot of times when I ask folks to come and like put their voice to the changes they want to see, is that people don't have hope, and they don't feel like anything that they do is going to be heard by the council or can meaningfully affect the direction of the city. And so it's very hard to convince people in the communities that stand to benefit the most from a change in the way the city's governed. It's hard to convince them that there's something to be won by speaking at council or by reaching out to council members, when the entire structure of city government is set up to stifle their voices.
Thank you, Mr. Meldal. I have to let you know that your time is up. Vice Chair, the next two attendees can you confirm that they have?
Yes, Mr. Corley and Ms. Schultz are both confirmed, sir.
Okay. Would you bring in Christopher Corley, please?
Hello.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
This is Christopher Corley from District 2, longtime listener, first-time caller. I actually wanted to express my support for this city council. I think you've all undergone tremendous challenges and pressures and continue to rise above it and remain serious professionals in the face of an engaged community. And to our police, who remain strong allies for maintaining the societal structure that keeps working class families in their place. You have been successful in making sure that the correct policies, the correct practices, and all those little bits of process are done to ensure our system keeps working as intended without change. I've never felt more powerless than I do when listening to you all explain things to me. Many of you have a clear understanding that kicking the can to next year is an effective strategy to never accomplish anything meaningful by doing that year after year, issue by issue. Yes, it seems that the working class isn't organized enough to make sure that they make it to all the budget meetings 9 months ahead of time, or even know what they need that far ahead of time. Let's hope that the working class people continue to take the blame that they as individuals are not doing enough and continue to believe that they are powerless to organize against the power structures you so aptly defend and participate in. It is so much easier to place blame on individuals, and it sure does keep them busy. I'm especially impressed by the council members that have been parroting white supremacist lies from the Reagan era that have been debunked decades ago. There's nothing better at keeping the people disorganized and oppressed than sowing conflict and distrust between the people. These messages are so effective, some of you even believe these are the real issues. Very well done. Chattanooga will forever be in debt because of the work that you do every day maintaining the city's status quo. Please keep deflecting responsibility onto citizens and ignoring them. It's working really well. Protests, pandemic, you name it, you've been able to flawlessly avoid any action, any position by passing the buck to whoever the rules tell you to, so that they may pass the buck to yet another system. Ignore the fact that we are 42 days away from September when the budgeting process for next year starts. I'm sympathetic that the process for this year is completely irreversible, unless of course you think that the purpose is worthwhile. It's so unfortunate that you have to vote this way, but that's just the way it is. This is a system I can believe in. It actually benefits me the most. I am so blessed to have a council that recognizes this and is able to bring issues to the table that benefit me first and foremost. Never mind that the working class is starving, without employment, without shelter, getting sick and dying in this pandemic. Of course there's violence. A better world simply isn't possible for them. Let's hope that the working people of Chattanooga don't organize any more than they already have. Thank you for being such effective representatives for me, if you know what I mean.
All right, Mr. Vice Chair, let's bring in Lucy Schultz, please.
Hello,
Good evening. Go ahead.
I'm in District 1. I have to commend the last caller. That was in a really excellent way of expressing what I think a lot of us who are calling in are feeling right now. And that is that, as one caller put it, the goalposts keep moving, right? I was on the strategic call earlier this afternoon, and a lot of emphasis was put on, well, we've had a lot of community engagement in the budget process so far. And basically, you know, the time has already passed. You know, amendments are not really like procedurally the right move at this point. And I just wanted to respond a little bit to that because the protests that have been going on for weeks in this community and are going to continue are a form of community input, right? And as others have said, massive amounts of people are calling in and participating in the city council like never before, right? We are undergoing a movement in this country, a protest movement for racial justice, unlike anything we've ever seen before, right? And so I think the council needs to recognize that we are at a crisis moment. Not only are we dealing with racial injustice, we're also dealing with the pandemic and all the fallout from that. And so the fact that community input has been limited at this point is just, I think, is false. And it's really disingenuous. I want to ask you, what is your vision of democracy, right? People have been doing the work, right? At first you said, well, we need more specifics. You want to divest from the police. Well, what exactly do you have planned for actual changes to the budget? Then the people did the work and they brought the amendments to you and you decided that you didn't even want to discuss them. So that is just, I think, you know, if you want people to be involved in the budget making process, what kind of message does that send to them when they do the work and they bring the amendments and then you refuse to even discuss them or give them the time of day, right? So I think that should be something that you reflect on. You know, it just the fact that we are in this moment where people are suffering so much and there are very small things that we can do as a city to relinquish some of that suffering, to give people opportunities for job training, to give them food, for heaven's sakes, and housing, right? And the failure to act on that. I hope that you do decide to take action to relieve some of that suffering during your remaining tenure. I yield the rest of my time.
All right, Vice Chair, could you verify Sarah Cantor?
Yes, sir. She's on the list.
All right, would you bring her in, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Well, I can, go ahead.
All right, my name is Sarah Cantor and I live in District 8. I'm here like everyone else that we've heard from tonight, really disappointed in the lack of democracy being shown here in Chattanooga. As others have mentioned, you know, you say that you want more community engagement. How is this not community engagement? How is 200 people speaking at a single meeting not community engagement? People gathering in Miller Park and in the streets, you know, most nights of the week for nearly 2 months at this point. That is community engagement. I ask that if we are not doing it right, don't just tell us that we're not doing it right. Tell us how to do this. People have been demanding that the budget be changed since before the budget was passed, and the council would not listen to it. The amendments that were presented as amendments because the council would not listen to them before the budget was passed. How are we supposed to be an engaged community if we don't know how to be engaged for you to listen to us? On top of that, you know, as I hope you're all aware, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Just the other day, Chattanooga hit its 7th record high for COVID-19 hospitalizations. That's 7 times in 1 month. This pandemic has affected so many people so fundamentally in so many ways. Already, we have seen the Chattanooga Area Food Bank, for example, see increased demand, a decline in donations, and an impacted supply chain by the pandemic, to the point that they are no longer able to function the way they were pre-pandemic. On top of that, a recent study by Feeding America found that children in Chattanooga are likely to see a 65% increase in food insecurity. How is the city supposed to handle that if we're not willing to change the budget? Same thing with housing. We're still seeing record unemployment. We're still seeing so many people furloughed. There's no protections anymore. The federal boost to unemployment, this is the last week for it. How are we going to keep people in their homes and not on the streets during a global pandemic? People are dying. On top of that, people are dying from racial inequality every day. They're being beaten by police, and the city council needs to do something about it.
All right, Ms. Cantor, your time is up. Thank you for your comments. Okay, we do have several other attendees that have registered to speak. I'm seeing no hands at this time. I want to give an opportunity for everyone that has registered to raise their hand at this time if you would like to speak. Okay, council, I see. Hold on just 1 second. Alfred Brummett.
He is on the list, sir.
Okay, would you bring him in?
Absolutely.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. You have 3 minutes, sir, if you give us your district number.
I live in District 5.
Okay, go ahead.
Gilbert's district. And I come before the council today to ask that the council renew the lease at Eastgate Senior Center. Eastgate is the most patronized center in the city. On average, 90 to 120 seniors participate in the activities provided by the center on a daily basis. That's over 2,000 visits a month. The center is patronized by people from all over the city, not just District 6. Many military veterans and disabled veterans come there on a daily basis to gather and to have a respite from the stress and grind of life. If the center is taken from us, a lot of us will be stuck at home watching reruns of Gunsmoke and Andy Griffin, which my therapist tell me is a recipe for disaster. Eastgate Senior Center is a necessary lifeline for seniors from all walks of life. Just to have a place where we can relax and be social is priceless. I wish all of you guys would come by to see what goes on there. I know Councilman Gilbert and Mayor Andy Burke and Mr. Byrd and Councilman Oglesby has been there. And we really appreciate them coming out. You're getting so much return on the money spent at Eastgate. The Senior Center enhances the quality of life for your citizens at a time when it is most needed. Please don't deny us when we need you the most. And I just like to list of few of the activities provided by Eastgate Senior Citizen Center. Tai Chi, ballroom dancing, card games, dominoes, chess club, computer class, aerobics, Zumba, tap dancing, book club, Bible club, pool, line dancing, library, sewing, ping pong. It's just an oasis for your seniors to get away from the daily grind of life. And I hope you guys will consider us in your next budget meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Okay, council, I am seeing no other hands raised at this time. What is your pleasure?
I move we adjourn.
So moved. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, everybody.